Welcome to the Midwest. My name is Jesse, and tonight I've got a really special interview with John Richter. He is an author and really a tinkerer, just overall nice guy. I gotta say, on a channel where the moniker is go out there and be nice to people, John already, he gets it. He gets it, guys. So this is a great interview with just a wonderful, wonderful inventor, tinkerer, and ice bather extraordinaire on how to build your ideal ice bath. He's written an ebook about it. All of his links are in the description box below, including his Facebook group. So make sure to check that out on Facebook as well. The reason I'm making this ahead of time video, this introductory video, is just to let you know my audio is not very good on this interview. I apologize. I didn't have access to a microphone during this interview, so I just used the computer mic. My voice is a little muffled, but his is fantastic, and he's the guy you want to hear anyway. So without any further ado, this is John Richter. I hope you enjoy the interview. Welcome to the Midwest. My name is Jesse, and today we are doing something that I don't normally do. I have a guest. I actually have a guest today. So today I am very honored to introduce everyone to John Richter. John is he just recently authored a book about chest freezers, and he runs a Facebook group that is completely dedicated to, it's called the Chest Freezer Cold Plunge group, and there's about 2,000 people in this group, and it is completely dedicated to people who are into the cold. So you know he's cool. First of all, you know he's cool, and then, but it's completely dedicated to people who want to get that everyday cold plunge, whether it's a hardcore ice bath or just cool, cold water. And he's done all of this work. John Richter, thanks so much for being on my YouTube channel. How did this come about? How did you decide, hey, I think I'm going to figure out everything you ever would need to know about building a chest freezer cold plunge?
Right. That's a great question, Jesse. And before I answer that, I just want to say, hey, thank you for having me here. This is very exciting. It's wonderful to be able to share about this passion, which has been almost all-consuming for the last couple of years. So yeah, I appreciate you reaching out to me. Well, really, what happened for me was I had really terrible insomnia. And I had done a bunch of different things. I had spent a lot of money on remedies, natural remedies. I knew that the typical Western medical stuff was only going to give you insomnia, that you had a crappy night's sleep, but wouldn't actually fix the root cause of it. I was doing hot Japanese style baths at 112 degrees, and it was a great sweat, but it helped a little bit, but it didn't really seem to resolve the insomnia. So after all the dozens and dozens of things that I did, some of them very expensive, I was already familiar with the Wim Hof method. And
Okay,
I did
awesome.
that course with Wim Hof about 5 years ago when he was in Austin, Texas. And in those days where I didn't feel like I could take another step without collapsing, the breathing would give me energy. But I live in Austin, Texas, which is a subtropical climate,
Right,
and a
right.
humid subtropical climate at that. So we very rarely get cold water. We're lucky if our cold showers will drop below 70.
Oh my
And
God. Yeah.
so, so when I talked to another friend, E. Lee, who is a Wim Hof trainer also, and she suggested that the cold water at night might help with the insomnia. And I thought, well, how am I going to do that? So I, bought about 80 pounds of ice, lugged it home, filled up the bathtub at about 7 o'clock at night, spent about 5 minutes in there, and I got the best night's sleep I'd had in probably more than 3 years.
Yes.
And so I
Yes.
thought, okay, there's got to be something to this. So after three more times of hauling 80 pounds of ice to my
Yeah.
bathtub,
Right.
it became very clear that this was not a sustainable solution. And so I reached out to Ely again, and she said, well, some people are filling up chest freezers with water. So I thought, chest freezers, huh? So I started doing a little bit of research, and a few months later, I went down to the hardware store, bought a Whirlpool chest freezer, took it home, and with much excitement, filled that thing up with water and chilled it down. And I got in there, and again, 7 o'clock at night, got the
Oh
best
yeah.
night's sleep ever again. And I did that for 2 more nights, and then the third night, I went in there, I opened it up, and I was horrified that rust was seeping out
Yes.
of the seams. And it's like, oh my God, I've just destroyed a $500 chest freezer. And
Yes.
that is what started the whole thing.
Well, I'm glad that I wasn't the only one. I had that happen to me as well, and I also had the insulation kind of seep in from the sides on my first try,
Mm,
and it was kind of I started noticing I was really itchy, and it was kind of red all and
mm,
man, it's only been a few days, and it was rusty, and uh,
right?
so yeah, that for me, I didn't have a John Richter to go to ask questions. So I was like, okay, so what can I do? I need to get this thing up and running. And so I just used like a pond liner. I'll add a link to my video about it.
Yes. Yeah.
Or if you would like an inferior chest freezer, go to that link.
No, that is a valid method. As a matter of fact, it's somewhere in this process. I actually did see your video, and I had already gone down a rabbit hole from sort of another direction. But
Yeah.
I thought, pond lighter, damn, that would have been a lot more simple than what I was doing. So, right.
Well, yeah. So you eventually you had your first flop, and then you were hooked. I mean,
Well, I
really gotten deep. I've taken a look, folks. If you go to, I'll take a look at the description box. I'll have his book in the link, a link to his book in the description box, and then also his website where you can buy all of the material you're going to need, like for your dream chest freezer.
right.
So,
Or a
so
lot of it. I don't have the whole store set up completely yet, but that's a whole logistics thing. But there at least some of the major components, minus the chest freezer, if you
yeah,
can get those on the website, there's some good stuff there. So at least a few of those components. But the book does have complete shopping lists, but more importantly though, it really walks you through the steps. It's like, what is your budget? What is your time frame? And do you have like less than a couple $100? Do you have $1,500? And depending on what
okay.
your budget is and your time frame and your goals, it can really guide you. And there's a bunch of different examples of people, different real world setups that people have used, and different like 5 or 6 different examples of setups, starting from the super primitive. I'm just going to freeze water bottles and put that on a stock tank, which is an
Yeah.
option, to the most complex thing with ozone and pumps and all that kind of stuff. So it runs the gamut from simple
That's
to more
awesome.
complex. Yeah.
So now I've got to ask, what is your chest freezer?
Ah, yes. Well, so it really, so miraculously, I still have the same chest freezer that I did 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago when I started. I successfully, maybe just by sheer luck, managed to not completely destroy it in the probably 4 or 5 different various setups that I went through in trying to really dial this thing in. And I almost feel like I'm cheating just to tell you what I'm doing now, but it's a lot of it is without going through the whole journey of like, oh, I
Right,
did this
yeah.
and then that happened. But yeah, so it's kind of a combination of some of the patches and fixes that resulted from a lot of the errors and mistakes that I made over the years. But I started out with a 15 cubic foot Whirlpool, and that
Okay.
was the base thing, and that's a good size for most people. And there is a do-it-yourself spray pond liner that's VOC free.
Oh, I got to get that.
Well,
That's my
well,
next purchase.
maybe, but
Oh,
see what I learned pretty quickly. I also didn't want to soak in chlorine or other chemicals, so I
right.
thought ozone is going to be my go-to sanitizer. So I've
Yeah.
been through a couple of ozone generators, but what I quickly learned was that ozone is reactive with that material that pond liner is made out of. So I started getting all this black goo dripping down the sides.
Oh.
So the pond liner is, it strengthened the chest freezer, but it was gooing, turning into goo from the ozone generator. So I was like, oh no. So anyway, what I ended up doing was, prior to that, I had actually I had custom measured for a pond liner that was custom made, so it's actually fitted, to the.
Oh,
It's a
that's pretty cool.
rectangle, and it's got a
Yeah.
floor, and it's got a little kick out for the compressor compartment. So
Beautiful.
so I
Beautiful.
stuffed that thing in there so it wouldn't melt the pond liner, and I'm using ozone for sanitation, and I found an ozone generator that has its own pump built into it, so you don't have to plumb it, which is like
Yeah.
that solved a huge problem, because I actually tried to
Yeah.
plumb an ozone generator with a hot tub and pump and filter, and that turned out to be a complete disaster, and the most expensive disaster actually out of all of them. But so anyway, and then I've got a temperature controller that I'm using. So I set my temperature within a 2-degree range, and it's there every day, every time. I don't have to mess with timers or worry about the ambient temperature changes.
That's nice.
Um, and then I've got an internal submersible pump filter that keeps the water circulating, prevents ice from building up. And I've been varying the temperatures. My lowest anywhere is about 34 degrees Fahrenheit, but currently I'm playing with 48. So
I think that's something that each person kind of has to find where that happy medium is. We're because we're doing it. We're not doing it to break records or to prove anything. You're doing it for your health. So
right,
where is that appropriate level for you? And that's really cool. Already you've made me have like all this Christmas list of things I need now, because mine is so anciently primitive. And I got to say, it's amazing that this thing has lasted. I've had mine up and running since 2016, and
wow,
it's not died. I mean, this whole time, and I just have it on a timer. And
right.
of course,
That's
I get
awesome.
all that ice up top, and I always have to, I try to
Right,
time it so that the ice doesn't that it'll be sort of milty, and so I can kind of just push it down so it's not
right.
cramped.
Slushy more than right.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I still have to. I don't do anything to sanitize it. I'm gross, I guess.
Right, right,
What I do is I will. I'm the only one in my family who uses it.
right,
So it's just me and my grossness, and so I usually will. I have to empty it out usually maybe once a month, once every, maybe I'll get a month and a half, maybe 2 months if it's.
mm,
Basically what I do, I'll cold shower before I go in,
right. That helps a
get the
lot.
body oils and stuff off.
Yes.
And so I'm taking a cold shower, and then I'm getting into an ice bath. And so I'm like, well, I'm into cold training. That's cool. So I do a lot of that, but it's a pain to have to do the water. And it's, so wow. So that sounds awesome. That sounds
Right.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm 5 months now without a water change. So
Oh,
I
it's just a dream.
right,
It's such a
right.
chore because, you know, and I know that it's it's not, I mean, it's not that bad, I guess, but it's still, especially whenever it gets really cold outside, because I'm taking it with buckets I just have buckets out of this thing, and it has to go somewhere, and I'm opening up the garage, and it gets all cold in there, and then I'm like, okay, great. I guess I'm really cold training today.
Right.
Well, that sounds awesome. That sounds
Well, I'll
really.
tell you, it's good that you don't have any crazy stories, because we've got I've seen pictures from this one guy on our group that he posted from basically his chest down. He
Yeah.
developed a red rash on his entire body that was
Ooh.
exposed to the water. Don't know what it was. He didn't go get it diagnosed, but it was very clear. And he didn't even stay in that long. So we know it wasn't like frostbite or anything like that, but it was some kind of rash. And it's like, dude, you gotta do something with your water to keep it clean.
Yeah, that sounds like a water issue.
Right.
Wow. But okay, so you've been training in the cold now for how long?
I guess it's wow, December this month, it'll be 5 years.
Wow.
I saw Wim 5 years ago when he was in Austin. Yeah, I think if I have the dates right, but I had a lot of insomnia back then, so it may be 6 years. I think it was 5. Yeah, right.
It
Well,
kind of
actually, I can tell you, it was 2013. So actually, I guess it has been 6 years.
That is awesome. That is amazing. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, cold training is just one of those things that, it's just this daily thing. It
Mhm.
becomes, I know at first, I think for most people, it's something that is not we feel like it's something that's monumentally hard and difficult. And
Right.
it is at first. And of course, all in the description box, I've got a link to my ebook about how to get into cold training, the cold training guide. It's there's a lot of things kind of going on, a lot of ways you can mess yourself up. But
Right.
once you get into that daily practice, just that everyday thing, and you start to kind of listen to that, I call it the inner, kind of like the inner voice, or that those little whispers that it's like, okay, I need to get out today, or for some reason I can stay in longer today than yesterday.
Right.
The body, you start kind of learning how to talk to your body, or how to listen to your body, and it's this diagnostic sometimes, just where I am with stress and
Yes. Yeah, there's so many different variables, and it's a really it's an amazing practice for me, because on some days I'm tuned in, I'm going like, because I'm going, all right, I've been in at 34 degrees and today I'm at 45 and I've only been in for 30 seconds and something is telling me get out. And it's like, well, okay. But sometimes it's going, get out. It's like, what do you mean? It's only been 30 seconds. I'm going to just power through this. And it's like, that's always very, you're going to bring yourself. And, or the other part is, being in tune with the opposite, which is either to stay in, or which is like, no, you need to get out. You need to get out. It's like, no, that's just this weird part of my mind that's freaking out. It's the monkey mind kicking in. So it can try to trick you both ways.
Well, that is awesome. That is awesome. John, I really do appreciate you coming on my YouTube channel. Hopefully we'll probably talk again. I would love to do this again sometime. So
yeah,
I really appreciate it. Everybody, make sure to check out John's ebook and his Facebook group in the description box. I'm a part of this group too. So occasionally I'd love to see some people discussing things about their new experiences with their chest freezers. So thanks, guys. I hope this has been illuminating. Definitely check out John Richter's book. It's
called The Ultimate Chest Freezer Cold Plunge DIY Guide.
Awesome. Well, I would say it is apropos. So thanks again. And thanks everybody for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to go out there and be nice to people.
Oh yeah. Okay. Pretty sweet, Snow Angel.